Dennis Collins built his reputation by being fast, loud, and always one step ahead. Finding forgotten cars in barns made him rich, but it also made him famous. Yet what most people don't realize is that the version of Dennis Collins seen on Fast and Loud was only a surface-level introduction. Behind the cameras, behind the YouTube uploads, and far from the bright lights of Collins' brother's Jeep, Collins was quietly assembling something far more valuable and far more secretive. When the TV crews packed up and the microphones were turned off, the real Dennis Collins collection began to reveal itself. Cars with no public records, test vehicles that were never meant to survive, and at least one machine with a VIN number so early it wasn't supposed to exist outside of factory walls. This is the garage the world was never supposed to see. Most fans recognize Dennis Collins as the sharply dressed car dealer with an uncanny ability to find rare vehicles before anyone else even knows they're available. As Richard Rawlings' longtime friend and business partner, Collins became a recurring presence on Fast and Loud, often stepping in to bankroll risky barn finds or rescue deals that looked impossible on paper. To viewers, he was the calm counterpart to Rawlings' chaos. But television only showed the part of Dennis that made sense for entertainment. What it never showed was the quiet operation he was building when no one was watching. Unlike most collectors who chase attention, Dennis Collins has always moved in the opposite direction. While his public image revolved around Jeeps auctions and YouTube content, his true passion lived behind locked doors. Hidden behind the main Collins Brothers Jeep facility in Wiley, Texas, sits a nondescript airplane hairstyle building with no signs, no branding, and no social media presence. Inside is not a showroom but a vault, climate-controlled, heavily secured. Designed not to impress visitors but to preserve history, most employees have never been inside. Some insiders claim even Richard Rawlings hasn't seen everything stored there, and that's intentional. Dennis Collins isn't just a buyer and seller. He's a preservationist of automotive what-ifs. His private collection focuses on cars that exist in the margins of history, vehicles with strange origins, special numbers, or stories manufacturers would rather forget. Among high-end collectors, Collins is known as the man who gets the cars no one else can. Not because he outbids everyone, but because he has the right relationships, the patience to wait decades, and the discipline to keep things quiet. When asked why he doesn't show everything publicly, his reported answer was simple: some things are meant to be kept, not sold. One of the most shocking elements of Collins' private vault is his obsession with VIN number 1 vehicles. These aren't just rare, they're sacred. VIN 1 cars are the first examples of a production run, often reserved for executives, testing, or internal use. Many are destroyed to avoid legal or branding issues, and yet, Collins reportedly owns more than one. Sources confirm at least 2 genuine VIN 1 vehicles under soft covers in his private garage, including a first-year Mustang and a BMW test car originally built for factory evaluation. These aren't replicas or clever reassignments. They're the real thing, never publicly auctioned, never listed, never filmed. One car in particular has caused quiet arguments in collector circles: a 1965 Mustang GT Fastback with a VIN that predates Ford's first showroom vehicle. Its paper trail is intentionally thin. Some believe it was saved from a company testing facility. Others think it passed through a private estate sale known only to a handful of insiders. However it arrived, the car doesn't appear on public registries, auction records, or museum inventories. Experts argue that such a vehicle shouldn't exist outside of Ford's internal archives. Yet there it sits, preserved, undocumented, and deliberately hidden. As if VIN 1 cars weren't rare enough, Collins' vault also houses what some insiders call the graveyard of what could have been. These are unreleased test cars, pre-production builds, and experimental vehicles that were scheduled for destruction but somehow survived. Some carry no branding at all. Others feature bodywork that doesn't match any known production model. One source claims Collins briefly held a Ford experimental vehicle equipped with active suspension technology years ahead of its time. Another mentions a Dodge prototype with design elements never seen publicly, possibly a scrapped concept from the early 2000s. Manufacturers don't like these cars in private hands. They expose abandoned ideas, failed technologies, and paths not taken. But Collins doesn't exploit them, he protects them. Retired engineers, private phone calls, and quiet deals are how these vehicles find their way to him. Trust is the currency, reputation is the entry fee, and once the car arrives it disappears from public view. Perhaps the most unsettling machines in Collins' collection are the so-called ghost cars, vehicles with no VINs in government databases, no registration history, and no official documentation. One alleged example is an early GM test vehicle with no badges and a frame number that matches nothing on record. Its body appears to blend Corvette C4 and Pontiac Banshee design language, while its internals feature aerospace-grade aluminum and wiring layouts decades ahead of production standards. Some speculate it was tied to government or defense testing. Collins has never acknowledged it publicly. There's also a blacked-out Mustang with widened proportions and no branding whatsoever. Some believe it's an early Shelby experimental build that never left the prototype stage. Others think it's something else entirely. Collins has never confirmed or denied its existence, and that silence is part of the strategy. Owning cars like these requires extreme discretion. Legal ownership isn't always the issue, attention is. Beyond prototypes, Collins' private garage allegedly houses vehicles with historic provenance most collectors would kill to advertise. A Cadillac rumored to have belonged to John F. Kennedy during his Senate years. A Porsche 911 linked through DMV archives to Steve McQueen's production company. A pink-trim Cadillac Eldorado tied to Elvis Presley's later touring years. None of these have been publicly displayed. According to insiders, Collins believes some cars carry too much history to be turned into content. Then there's the Jeep that confuses even military historians. Not a CJ, not a Wrangler. A test vehicle rumored to have been developed for Special Forces evaluation during the Gulf War era. Featuring modular armor points, experimental suspension, and a drivetrain some believe may be diesel-electric. It's never appeared in any video, never mentioned in interviews. Some whisper it could be the most valuable Jeep ever built, not because of branding, but because it's unique. With a collection this historic, most collectors would chase headlines. Collins doesn't. Some believe he's preparing for a future reveal, a private museum, a book, or a controlled documentary. Others think certain cars are simply too controversial to show. Test vehicles, government programs, and scrap prototypes attract the wrong kind of attention. Collins' empire is built on long-term relationships and clean paperwork. Silence protects both. Behind the public-facing garage lies another level entirely. Hidden rooms, sealed doors, keypad access, spaces only Dennis Collins himself controls. Inside are unfinished builds, experimental projects, and at least one car even close friends refuse to discuss. Engines on stands, blueprints on tables, covers draped in shadows. This isn't a collection built for clout, it's a private archive of automotive history. In a world obsessed with loud auctions and louder personalities, Dennis Collins plays a quieter game. While others chase hype, he waits. While rivals flex, he locks things away. He isn't just collecting cars, he's preserving moments that were never meant to survive. Fast and Loud may have ended, but Dennis Collins never stopped collecting. He simply closed the door and let the rumors grow. And in doing so, he didn't just outcollect his rivals, he outsmarted them.